with us Mr. Niranjan Prabhu, who is a practitioner of yoga and meditation for more than 18 years. He is a certified trainer of Sri Sri Yoga from Sri Sri School of Yoga. Let's hear from him his life-changing journey with Gurudev, Sri Sri Ravishankar Gurudev. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much. Jai Gurudev.
Okay, Jai Gurudev. To start the question, my first question to you goes, what is that shift in your life which made you turn towards spirituality?
Actually, it happened more from a perspective of, trying to improve my health and stuff like that. So I was always very inquisitive about yoga, about, Kriya. I had read a lot about Gurudev. So I always wanted an opportunity. And when I found that opportunity, in fact, though Art of Living is known so much for Sudarshan Kriya, the first course I actually did from Art of Living was Sri Sri Yoga, the first course. So I just jumped at that opportunity to learn yoga. And I've never seen, looked back ever since. So it was such a beautiful experience. And I still remember the first day. I could not bend, my hands wouldn't go even close to my knees. I was so inflexible. And in just that 1 week of yoga, I was able to, touch my feet. And that was really a beautiful, a transformation. And then I did, immediately after that, I did, the Sudarshan Kriya, the happiness program. It was known as the basic course in those days. And it's calmed me significantly, given a broader perspective to life. That just that calming down, accepting life as it is, accepting people as they are. Some of those points that we have, that Gurudev teaches in the basic course or the happiness program, is life transforming. It really gives you a new perspective to life from dealing with situations where I was simply not able to accept it. And the moment you don't accept things, anger rises. And even if you don't show it, it's even worse. It gets bottled up, all these emotions. And we don't know where all it shows up, and it ruins the the beauty of life, and the way we interact with the world is significantly impeded, causes pain, not only to yourself, to everybody else. So all these things came down significantly. And then I took a took an oath that I'll never give it up. So it was just that it's so very experiential. It's unlike there's nothing to believe in all this. It's Gurudev always says we don't believe that these fingers are us. We know that the fingers are us. So that moving away from belief to experience, that really helped me tremendously in optimizing the quality of life, making the quality of life much better, both for myself and people around me. So that's the starting, and there was no looking back ever since.
Yes, I would completely agree with what you're saying. Going to the next question, I see your passion for yoga and knowledge on Yoga Sutra is commendable. What is your interest in Pathanjali Yoga Sutras?
In fact, one of the things that really attracted me so much about Gurudev is the way he came across. He is very unlike any other typical, a religious guru, if I could call it that. Not that I have anything against him. It's just that different generations of people need to be, approached very differently. And I felt his understanding of, knowing where you are and getting the knowledge across to you the way you would love to get it is it's commendable. I've never seen anyone like this, who can tailor the way he talks, the language, the approach, based on the audience, and that emotional quotient, as they call it, is to be seen, to be believed, in Gurudev. So the way he came across, the kind of, because the people of our generation have a lot of questions. We are not believers. You cannot just tell us some story and say this is what it is, and you believe it. But Gurudev, the way he explained the Yoga Sutras, the way he explains even Sanskrit, and the way, for example, the first line in the Yoga Sutras is Atha Yoga Anushasana. But the way he explains, Anushasana, he says that Shasana is ruling over somebody else and Anushasana is ruling over yourself. So it is a discipline. And very beautifully he puts it. He says that, to go and hug your mother, you don't need a discipline. But to brush your teeth, you need a discipline. Some of these habits have to be, inculcated in our lives. So that we make it a better life. I mean, even, children, you really need to push them towards brushing their teeth. And only after a few years of, being after them, they really do end up, then you don't need to be after them. So he always says, just like you have dental hygiene, this mental hygiene is very important in life. And these are some of these points that really, that's the stickiness factor, right? It is how it goes deep inside you. After that, you don't need to really, think about, what to believe in, what's the right thing, should I do this, should I do, things happen in your life because you have given that quality time to yoga. So always he says, give your, quality time to, your spiritual practices, the sadhana, and then it'll take care of you. It is, we have a very beautiful Sanskrit saying which says, dharmo rakshati rakshita. So you protect dharma and dharma will protect you, it says. But, it is also yoga rakshati yoginaha. You are on the path of yoga and you give that, that dedication, that 100%. And it will take care of you. It will take care of you health-wise, emotions-wise. It changes you inside out. And that's been the experience. And, the way he has explained the Yoga Sutras is phenomenal. I have read a lot of other authors on this subject, and even the great ones. I don't want to name them because people will think that, I'm blaspheming against great people in this world, but they have had their, they have their place in our lives. But I have read the greatest of the greats, explaining the Yoga Sutras, and personally to me, none have come across the way Gurudev has, that depth, that explanation at a micro level, the deeper understanding of, of Sanskrit itself. If you look at many of the Sanskrit words, we understand it from just one particular meaning, but he explains how the same word has, very different meanings, how it can be understood differently. Today is Krishna Janmashtami. So, the word Gopala, the word Gau, he says, we have understood it as to be the cow. So he's a cowherd. Gopala is a cowherd. But Go has 4 or 5 different levels of understanding. It also means the earth. And at the highest levels, it means knowledge. So the one who holds the knowledge is Gopala. So this kind of in-depth understanding Gurudev brings about. And, even when, though Yoga Sutras is only 196 sutras, they're not long shlokas like in the Gita. Gita has a particular meter to it. but Atha Yoga Anushasanam is one of its sutras. Whereas if you look at Bhagavad Gita, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsavaha, Mamaka, Pandavaschaiva, Kimukurvata Sanjay. So Dhritarashtra watch. So this is one shloka, and there are 800 such shlokas in the Gita. But in Yoga Sutras, it's only 196 of them. And sutra, small, sutra means a thread. And, they have to be succinct. They have to be explained in a way that there's no ambiguity in understanding. And though the sutra is supposed to be like that, I realized over a period of time that the guru needs to explain the sutra in such a way that there is no ambiguity in the mind of the student. The student should not have doubts about what these things mean. And though there are only 196 sutras, in the Yoga Sutras, the first time he explained the Yoga Sutras, this was sometime in the 90s. And I used to watch his tapes, listen to his cassettes and all in those days. He didn't cover the whole thing. He covered only the important ones. And he used to, even when we used to ask him, Gurudev, why not all the 196, which he did, for the academic interest, if I may say so. But when we used to ask him, he always used to say that, I have explained whatever are the most important ones that will really matter to you, that will make a difference to you. And as Gurudev explained the whole thing, I realized the truth of what he had said, because everything else either dovetails into what he had already said. Many of them, are saying the same thing in a different way, and a lot of it is actually telling you what happens to you when you walk on the path of yoga. So definitely, that complete Pathanjali Yoga Sutras is a beautiful thing. But even if we listen to just those few that, the first two chapters he had focused on when he initially spoke of, or he recorded the Yoga Sutras in the 90s. And that is, where I really got onto it. Yoga Sutras are like, trying to, when you go through it, when you listen to Gurudev, it's like Patanjali is telling you about your own mind. And you realize we are so, whenever we judge somebody and it's basically we are judging the mind of that person. But the nature of the mind is, very similar in all humans. It is been tuned differently based on the circumstances that the mind has faced in life. But, it is like the typical Coke or Pepsi machine. You press the Pepsi button and the Pepsi drops out. You press the 7-Up button and the 7-Up drops out. So it is like that, you poke the mind in a particular way. This is the kind of reaction it will give you. And this is Sanatana Satya. This is how it has always been. This is how it will always be also. And the way the mind has been explained by Patanjali, the kind of, he speaks of the impediments on the path of yoga, and it's so beautifully explained. And there are certain times, though I have been a very, ardent practitioner myself, there have been so many times when sometimes I wonder, should I do it? And immediately I realize, the mind is got caught in one of the 9 obstacles on the path of yoga, which Gurudev has so beautifully explained. I have no, words to express how grateful I am that he brought this knowledge out, because knowledge is aplenty, knowledge is infinite, but to get that, those important points, to get it across to people in a way that is, that they can absorb, it becomes a part of your, virtually your DNA. After that, you express that knowledge all the time. You don't need to sit and wonder or go back to the books and check. You don't need to do that. So, the way the mind functions, the laziness, that is one of the impediments on the path of yoga, you realize, am I being lazy? Is it just the laziness that is pulling me back? Small little pains in our body, and we make use of that to say, okay, today I'll sleep off. And the first, impediment on the path, or the hurdle on the path of yoga, is vyadhi, or the physical pains. And then he speaks of, the mind giving all sorts of funny reasons not to do good things, which is called Styana Sanchaya, the doubts that we have, doubts whether what we are learning, doing is the right thing, whether you doubt on the guru, doubt on our own selves, whether we can do it or not. Pramada, the habit of the mind to actually do what it knows shouldn't be done. And this is such a big thing in our lives. You realize so many times, even when we eat, we overeat. We know we shouldn't do it, but still we go ahead and do it. So, pramada, the hallucinations, bhranti darshana, the laziness, alasya, getting stuck in sense objects, people listening to music the whole day. And, it actually hurts the sense organs after some time. So, avirati, getting caught up in in sensory objects, doing the same thing. Gurudev gives examples of an illness called bulimia, where people actually want to eat. They have a capacity, so they actually throw up, and then they go again and eat something, then they throw up. These are mental afflictions, avirati. Bhranti darshana, the hallucinations, then, alabdha bhumikatva, which is, I was able to do it before, but I'm not able to do it today. So you feel that you're doing a particular asana or a practice, and you're meditating. You were able to do it so beautifully before, but now I'm not able to do it. So that, that again, causes issues with, this is another hurdle on the path of yoga. And finally, anavastitatva, where, you compare yourselves to others, and you feel people who came much after you are able to do it, but I'm still not able to. So these are the kind of thought patterns that afflict us, and they manifest as what he says, dukkha, or sadness. You feel sad. Daurmanasya, you feel bitterness in the mind. Angame jayatva, the mind body coordination is not there. You wanted to do something and you are doing something else. That happens to so many of us. And shwasa prashwasa, or irregular breathing. And Patanjali beautifully says, so, okay, fine, you have these hurdles, manifesting as, A, B, C, D. So what do you do about it? And he says, ekatattva abhyasa, just stick to your guns. Keep doing it, don't let go. Gurudev says, beating around the bush. So you keep doing it, it's relentlessness. And even in that relentlessness, how should it be done? There are so many sutras I want to repeat, 196, but just a few of them that Gurudev picked and chose. And he says, Dhirgakala, you should do it for a long time. And how do you do it? Nairantarya, without giving gaps. Not, I do it today, then I forget for a few days, then I again catch it up for one day, or I do it alternate days. Not that way, but you do it daily. Nairantarya Satkara Sevita, with lot of respect. You have to be very respectful to the practice. And even in one of his talks, he explains respect as giving your 100%, being completely in the moment, and giving your 100%, to a person, is respecting that person, not just bowing down. And these are all the external manifestations of respect, where we say namaste, or we shake our hands, or we praise that person. That is one level, but the real respect is when you're with that person or with that subject. So satkara sevita, then he says drida bhumi, then it will take root in you. So these points are such that once you absorb them, you can never get out of it. Once you absorb them, you realize that this is what it is. And these are points that can be looked at from any perspective. I keep telling even my son that, when you do your studies and things like that, these are, you look at the obstacles on the path, this is exactly what will happen to you. But you have to keep at it. You cannot but be with it. Once you commit, then you have to be with it. You should not let go. Think through before you take that decision, but once you have taken a decision in life, please be with it, respect it, and then it will come to you. Once you love something, it will come to you. There is no other way. So even when we do our asanas and you are continuously at it over years together, then you realize, the beauty of what exactly it is. Not just, some contortion that we have been made to believe it is, but these are the gifts of great rishis. They are all, first codification happened only 600 years ago or so, when Swatma Rama wrote Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And then after him, and after 200-300 years, Rishi Gheranda wrote the Gheranda Samhita. And then there are many beautiful, yogis who have written down all this in books. So, so these were there in the ashrams of different sages, and then one person, would have got that inspiration to collate all of them and give it to you in one book. So whatever asanas we are doing, they have evolved over millennia, and great seers have invented these positions so that a particular goal can be reached. And what is that goal? That goal, Pathanjali very beautifully puts it across as the stilling of the mind. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. And so to do what? Why do you need to still the mind? So he says tada drishtuhu swarupe avasthanam, so that you can repose in the form of the observer. So even this understanding and experiencing it only through respectful practice of the yoga, the asanas, the pranayamas, the kriya that you learn in the ashram, do you realize what it truly is. So some of his unbelievable contributions to this field, and every great sage has contributed. We need to be so grateful to them. But one of Gurudev's very powerful contributions to yoga is in how we understand Ashtanga Yoga. So we have, the 8 limbs of yoga. Many understand Anga as steps, but he says it's Anga. Anga means a body part. So the 8 limbs of yoga, which are yama, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So he says, you pick any one and you pull it, you'll get all 8 of them. So it is like, pulling the leg of a table. You pull the leg of a table and the entire table comes. You get the whole table with you. It is not that only that leg comes on until it's been very badly put together. But, the funner part, this is the reality. So those, and there are, I'm no doubt there are innumerable number of, people in the ashram who have dedicated their lives to this practice and have realized what these words mean, the gravity of these words. So that is for me, this is the greatest guru story that I have to share. That the way he has explained some of these points, the way he has deciphered, there's a very beautiful prayer to Krishna, coming to Krishna today, because he's Yogeshwara and it's also Janmashtami. So we always say, Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopala Nandana, which means all the Upanishads are like the cows and Krishna is like the milkman. So he takes the milk from all these cows and, he gives it to you in a vessel. You don't need to do the hard work. So many Upanishads are there. So much of brilliant work is there in, in our civilization. But Gurudev has taken those very important points and he has served it to you, given it to you, so that you don't need to do all that hard. So that's the greatest Guru story in my life, that he enriched it beyond my personal imagination of how beautiful my life could be. Through his teachings, through his life, through his humorous ways of explaining so many of these things. So this is the greatest
Very
Guru
interesting.
story.
Very interesting to know that. Uh, Another question is, personally, what change do you notice before and after practicing pranayam and kriya? This is a very common question that everybody
Yeah,
who has undergone kriya,
yeah,
has to answer.
so true. Yeah, and again, I'll come back to Gurudev's teachings on this. The word prana, it is so important. That is all there is. In fact, there's a very beautiful shloka about prana itself. It says, prano bhutam cha bhavyam cha, both the past, the present. Prano sarvam pratishtitam. It is there in everything. Prano hi Bhagavan Matarishwaram. It is the Divine Mother herself. So even Shankaracharya, in one of his shlokas calls the Divine Mother as Prana. So Gurudev explains this very beautifully. He says, stones, even stones have prana. So, prana sarvam pratishtitam. It's there in everything. So he speaks of stones having 1 unit of prana. The most lifeless, we say, will be the stones, but even they have a unit of prana. Then you have water, you have all the 5 elements. And then you have, the earth, water, fire, air, space. Then you have 6 units of prana in plants, 7 in animals, and 8 in human beings. But human beings have this potential to go right up to 16 units of prana. And today being Janmashtami, coming to Krishna again, Krishna operated that 16 units of prana, due to which he was known as a Purana Avatara. Rama operated at 12. Hanumanji operated at 14. So, this understanding of prana is very important, because people may ask why I need to move beyond 8. See, it is only when we move beyond 8 or increase the amount of prana that we hold, that the potential of life starts to unfold, the higher potentials. The way we understand life when we are at 8 units, when we are normal, is one level of understanding. But for the higher level of understanding, the prana needs to be raised. So the Sudarshan Kriya, the Pranayama, the yoga, they work in, it is called, we have a word in Hindi called patrata. Patrata means a deservedness, if we translate it into English. But patrata also means how much of space do you have to receive in your in the patra or the vessel you hold. So even if the guru has to pour a liter of milk into the vessel, if the vessel itself does not have space in it to hold that 1 liter, it's a waste. So prana brings about that patrata to understand higher. That's why so much of this knowledge that Gurudev gives, we always emphasize in the Art of Living, that first you go through the happiness program. Pehle tum course karo. Baad mein we will look at all the other things. Because when we raise the level of prana, that is when the higher knowledge can actually be absorbed. Otherwise, it will just remain another belief system. So the pranayama, the yoga, the kriya, it ensures that, the prana shakti goes to each and every part of the body. And as we, improve our levels of prana, then the understanding of this world changes for the better. Our energy levels are much higher, and the way we operate in the world, the quality of that changes for the better. So yoga is nothing but bringing out the best in you at any particular point of time. Now, when I say bringing out the best in you, we should understand, we should take into cognizance the, where we are. If I'm at a particular age, there is the best that I can operate at or bring out at, that is, that is in the context of my age, my karmic connections, the way I've been brought up, those impressions, all that. So for whatever is, the story of my life, the best of what I can give at any particular point will be given. And yoga ensures that, pranayama and kriya, they ensure that. So, there is nothing that in this particular discipline, we never compare ourselves to others. We always compare ourselves to where we were. Am I a better, am I doing better? Am I calmer? Am I able to, cognize better? Am I able to, give my best to the world? So that is what is, so important in yoga and pranayama and kriya. This is what it does to you. So Gurudev always says that all our doubts, they come only when the pranic level is low. And, on the contrast, when the pranic levels are very high, you move beyond doubt and, the limited logic. The logic is only as good as the knowledge we have about the world. It cannot be better than that. So the more we understand about the world, the quality of the logic also changes. So, so these are all his words. So I'm only repeating what I have learned from the great person, so great master.
We are lucky to have him with us.
Absolutely, we are so lucky that we got onto the path, right? So many great people came in the past, and we all have that, the story that everybody didn't follow them. So we are the lucky ones who at least came onto the path. So many people know about him, have met him also, but then that's it. They have, it's a very limited interaction, and they move on. It doesn't stick on to their lives. So this is
actually, this is what I also discussed with Priya ma'am, that I feel it is, it's a personal experience that, it's that sometimes for many people, it's the rock bottom that they hit when
yes,
they look out for that light, which Gurudev, brings in our
absolutely,
lives. And then
absolutely,
when you see that there's the light at the end of the tunnel, you want to follow it,
yeah,
voluntarily. There is nobody really pushing you for it, that you have to
yeah.
do this to attain this, because it is your own experience. And then
Yes,
automatically that experience brings in the discipline in yourself, because you want to experience that happiness over and over and over again.
absolutely, absolutely. So,
So this is
it is
my
just,
personal experience, which I'm sharing with you.
yeah, that is what happens, right? That is what it does to you. This is the science of yoga lies in the understanding of prana. So,
Yes,
and Gurudev
very true.
explains that in the most beautiful of ways. Yeah,
So
that's what
going
it does.
to that, coming after the pranayam and kriya, we go to the meditation. So there goes my next question: how did the meditation change you at office and at home?
See, again, going back to Gurudev's teachings, why is it necessary? Why do we need to go with it? Because all that the human civilization has understood as success is in the outer world. we never speak of, oh, this guy was very successful because, I mean, very few people, they'll say he was successful. Probably Buddha, they'll say he was successful because he was a great meditator. But that has still not, people have still not understood that that is not the, the end goal, the reason why we need meditation, the reason why we need all this is so that we are external, we are successful, we operate better in the external world. The external world affects us, as we move through this process of life, we realize that the external world does, is not all that hunky-dory as it is. It is not the way we want it to be. And that gap between the way life is and the way we want life to be is what all the stress, the anger, and all those negative emotions are about, that particular delta. So, that is where this teaching that Gurudev has so beautifully explained. He says, if you want the arrow to move towards its target, you want it to, the farther you want to move the arrow, the more you need to pull it backwards onto the bow. So the bow is, if you look at it from yogic parlance, the bow is your body, and the breath is the string. And the arrow is all that you want to do, your goals and, your desires, so if you really want to be successful, be on the path of yoga, be on the path of, Kriya, Pranayama, the breathing exercise, because these are nivrittis. You're going within. Why? Because you're pulling that arrow back, behind. And then when you let it go, you have your direction, you know what to do, you know where to point it, and it goes and hits the target. So that is pravritti, which half the time we are all trying to do the pravritti without realizing that this is equally important in helping you to be successful. Most people feel spirituality is running away from the world. No, it is about being more successful in the world. It's about engaging with the world. It's not, absolutely, it is to handle, yourself better, so that you give your best to the world. And irrespective of whether everything that we have tried to do in our lives, we have never been successful. But that should not pull us down. So that equanimity that is so important, which Krishna repeatedly states in the Gita, samatvam, samatvam. Samatvam yoga uchyate. The hallmark of yoga is equanimity. And equanimity will happen to you when you're on the path, when you take care of your practices. You do your sadhana. Gurudev very beautifully explains, sadhana is sahadhana. It is your own wealth. Because these are all beautiful impressions that we are, implanting on the soul. Even after death, we carry these with us. So this is the wealth of beautiful impressions that we will carry with us. Unlike the physical wealth, which we cannot. So sadhana is about doing that, ensuring that you increase your own personal wealth, your individual wealth, which you will carry on, from lifetime to lifetime. So we don't need to, you take care of your sadhana, and yoga will take care of you. It will ensure that you don't need to later, I'm not saying not think, but even the quality of the thinking improves, the quality of your thoughts improve, the quality of your action improves. Krishna says very beautifully that yoga karmasu kaushalam. It brings about kushalata or skill in the way you work, because the more observant you are, which is what yoga does to you. Finally, residing in the form of an observer is what yoga is. So the more observant we are, the more attentive we are, the better students we are of life itself as a process, the more successful we would be in the way we engage with it. So this is where the meditation, the kriyas, they help you immensely, both in your interpersonal skills, the way you interact, with your family, as well as the way you operate in the world, whether it's the office or your business or whatever it be. And finally, at the end of the day, your ability to accept, that acceptance that yoga and kriya bring about is it's unbelievable, and the benefits of all this is only for those who are doing it to
Practicing. Very
practitioners will know it. They know it. They know the taste of it, and there's nothing more beautiful than that.
So this is my next question to you, that as an IT professional, what message would you like to convey to all the corporate professionals out there?
Whole day, right from traveling to office to, innumerable number of meetings. You look at the life of an IT professional, this is what it is mostly. Interacting, bringing in skills, bringing in, understanding what next to do. You're always on the edge because you have to keep upgrading your skills. You're always under pressure because you don't know when the job will go. These are all the real pains of the profession. It pays well, but it also has its downsides in the kind of tension you get and stuff like that. So nothing better than operating from an elevated level of prana in professions like this. The attentiveness improves, your sense of equanimity improves, your acceptance of situations improve. Even if you get, I remember Kishanji, who was one of my teachers, Dr. Krishan Verma, one of Gurudev's great disciples and a great guru himself of yoga, used to say that, even if your, what you want to do is good, the quality of thoughts, the way you want to go about it, if you want to optimize that, that is where the yoga, kriya, will ensure that. It's not that it's something will, you need to think through it. It works through you. These things happen. The skillfulness, the equanimity, the level-headedness, which are so important in the IT world or in any other profession, will happen to you. So you give time to yoga, that quality time to yourself. What you're doing in yoga is giving quality time to yourself, so that you can give quality time to the world around you. Because Gurudev always says your skills are for others. If you are a great singer, it is for others. If you are a great, whatever skill you have, it is to help others. You're helping somebody else. A great doctor is helping somebody else. It is not so much for himself as much as it is for others. So give that time to yourself, have compassion on yourself, give that time to yourself, that half an hour, 1 hour of yoga, kriya, meditation. And, the best of you will be given to the world. So that is...
It's the best investment we can do for ourselves.
Absolutely. There's nothing better. I mean, no amount of, afterwards, when health deteriorates, no amount of medicines can really bring you back to some of, and all these stresses and pains are, they are manifesting as really very painful ailments. You need to talk to doctors about how many people today in their 20s and 30s are coming for stent implants. It's very tragic. There's no need. I'm not saying I'm saying it's not inevitable. Having bad health is not inevitable in this profession. Just some time, some quality time that you can spend, and you can really, decrease the possibility of all these ailments from visiting you. So one of the very beautiful, sutras in the Yoga Sutras, Pathanjali says, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. The pain that has not yet visited you will be finished off. This is like a riddle. You really need to, look around in the world, look at what people are going through, and you should understand that if you continue the way you're doing, it will also be visited upon you. So by going through yoga, by going through pranayama, kriya, all these practices, you will ensure that these pains will not come to you. Heyam dukkham, the dukkha which jiski gati nahi aayi hai, which has not yet visited you, anagata. Gata means it is, gati means speed, it is coming to you. So anagata means that which has not yet come to you, even that will be finished off. So, the power of yoga is to be experienced over a lifetime. And there's no greater judge about what is happening in one's own life than me, to understand what's happening in my life, how I was before yoga, before, after. I need to sit down, analyze. Swadhyaya, one of the steps in yoga is self-study. So study yourself, understand how these things are, how life was before, how life is after, and you will realize how much we all owe to this beautiful discipline, to the great gurus who have brought this to us and made life so much more beautiful and made us so much more helpful and fruitful to the world than what we would have normally been.
Yes, you're very right. And with that, I would really like to thank you very much for your valuable time and for the beautiful insight into this mystical world of yoga and spiritualism. And it's such a beautiful and vast subject that, you know, uh, there's lots to talk, to learn, to know, to experience. So it was lovely talking to you, sir. And
Thanks a
I
lot.
hope
Thanks a
that
lot.
we together we all can make a difference in each other's lives.
Absolutely, no doubt. This is satsanga.
Yeah, very. Thank you once again.
Yes, Jai Gurudev.